Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome to 90 Day Fiancé latest news. The word got out slowly at first, with fans of 90 Day Fiancé whispering about it in the early hours of the morning. As the sun rose over Miami, the storm spread across social media. When the words heart attack came out, the community was shocked. Matt Branistareanu, Jasmine Pineda's boyfriend and a fitness fan, was in the hospital. Elite Edge Fitness, one of Miami's finest gyms known for its celebrity clients, had a normal Tuesday morning. Matt got there soon after 7 a.m. in his customary black exercise clothes, with earbuds in, ready to start his daily routine. People who saw him claimed he seemed happy. He was joking with a trainer, saying hello to several regulars, and starting his warm-up on the treadmill. But things changed just 40 minutes later. A witness said they saw Matt slow down and put his hand on his chest. Jason Gwynn, a member of the gym who was close, stated he looked pale. He tried to sit down on the mat, but then he just kind of fell over. It was as if his body had given up. Panic set in. Trainers ran to him and called 911. Paramedics got there in a matter of minutes and stabilized him before putting him in the ambulance. The sound of sirens cutting through Miami's hot, humid morning air marked the start of a nightmare that Jasmine could never have seen coming. At that exact time, Jasmine Pineda was at home filming a short Instagram stories video about skincare. She almost didn't answer her phone as it buzzed once with a call from an unknown number. But as she picked up the phone, everything changed. A calm but frantic voice on the other end told her that Matt had been sent to the hospital right away. Jasmine stood still, unable to understand what she heard. Later, she wrote a short message saying that her memory went blank. In a flurry of tears and astonishment, she grabbed her keys and sped to the hospital, yelling Matt's name out loud in the car as if he could somehow hear her from far away. Doctors were already trying to stabilize him when she got there. Jasmine hurried down the hall of the hospital, her heart racing faster than it ever had before. As she walked by, nurses whispered to each other, but all she could see was the door that kept her from the man she loved. Matt was pale but breathing in the critical care unit. Tubes and sensors were tracking his pulse and oxygen levels. The monitors beeped, and his chest rose and fell slowly and steadily. Jasmine stood there, transfixed, with her hand shaking as she reached out to touch his arm. She cried quietly, helplessly, and without any cameras or followers. It was just basic human terror. A nurse carefully set a chair next to her. Jasmine sat there, unable to say anything, holding his hand. Ultimately, Jasmine sent a private message to a close friend that was ultimately posted to a fan community. In it, she claimed, "I thought I was going to lose him. When I saw his face, my heart stopped. No one is ready for that time." A cardiologist came out in the late afternoon to talk to Jasmine and Matt's family. His voice was calm and soothing. The doctor said, "He's no longer in immediate danger. It was a heart attack, but not a very bad one. We found it early, and the medication is working well for him. He'll need to relax, take medicine, and get more care later. But he's going to be okay." Those words, "he's going to be okay," became Jasmine's lifeline. She held on to words like a prayer, saying them over and over again as she sat by Matt's side all night. 2 days later, Jasmine posted a picture on Instagram of Matt lying in his hospital bed. It was a sweet but sad picture. His face was pallid, yet it was calm. His hand, which was bound in medical tape, was interlaced with hers. It said, "My heart stopped when yours did. Please say a prayer for him. I'm not going to leave his side while he fights." Broken Heart Folded Hands #Pray for Matt. The post got more than 200,000 likes in less than an hour. People from all over the world left remarks like, "Stay strong, Jasmine. Sending love and healing energy to both of you. Health is everything. Sending light from Brazil." Within hours, the picture was all over entertainment news sites. 90 Day Fiancé star's boyfriend has heart attack was a popular title on all the big celebrity news sites. Jasmine was having a hard time behind the scenes. Friends close to her said she hadn't been able to sleep well since the event. Messages, calls, and media queries kept coming in on her phone, but she mostly ignored them. Matt was the only thing on her mind. One person who went to see her in the hospital commented, "She's broken. She hasn't eaten much. She has been crying a lot. She's scared but trying to stay strong for him." During visiting hours, Jasmine might be seen sitting quietly, stroking Matt's hair or saying sweetly to him. When he woke up, she would sometimes smile through her tears and tell him everything was fine, even when her voice broke. Jasmine was the first person Matt noticed when he finally woke up completely on Wednesday morning. "Hey, beautiful," he said in a shaky voice. That was enough. Jasmine started to cry and put her hands over her face. Matt, who was still stunned, gripped her hand gently. "Don't cry. I'm okay. I promise." She leaned in and kissed his forehead, then whispered, "Don't ever scare me like that again." During the peaceful hours that followed, Jasmine thought about how fast her life had changed. Just a few days ago, she and Matt had gone out for sushi and laughed at dumb fan theories on the internet. Matt dubbed their trip to Costa Rica next month a little escape. Now, all she wanted to do was be beside his hospital bed. She remembered the little, stupid battles they had and felt a feeling of shame. She learnt that love wasn't about big acts or precise times. It was about the seconds that could go away without warning. The news spread like wildfire in the entertainment press. Entertainment Tonight, In Touch, and Screen Rant all wrote about what happened. Online, there were pictures of Jasmine going in and out of the hospital. Some showed her crying and smudging her makeup, while others showed her holding on to Matt's mother in the hospital hallway. A short video that was secretly taken from outside the hospital wing and posted on TikTok shows Jasmine strolling slowly down the hall with a cup of coffee in her hand and looking tired. The caption said, "She's been here all day and night. That kind of love is hard to find." Fans showed their support by sending her messages of sympathy on social media. Former cast members of 90 Day Fiancé also spoke out in public. Yara Zaya said, "Sending prayers for Matt's recovery." And Angela Deem said, "Stay strong, girl." "Heart attacks can happen to anyone," Tim Malcolm wrote. "You've got this. Be kind to one another." Dr. Armand Vega verified that Matt's prognosis was positive in a short press briefing outside the hospital. Mr. Branistareanu had a heart attack that was most likely caused by too much work and stress. After the intervention, his cardiac rhythm immediately got back to normal. There shouldn't be any permanent damage. He's going to be watched for the next few days. Those words brought relief, but for Jasmine, they didn't take away the anxiety that had already settled in her head. Later that night, Jasmine posted again on Instagram. Her tone was calmer but still emotional. "Thank you to everyone who has been praying for us. The last 2 days have been the hardest I've ever had. Seeing the person you love struggle to breathe alters you for the rest of your life. Matt is getting better. Please keep him in your hearts." The post had a picture of her hand gently resting on his. Her followers showed their support by flooding her comment area with kind words. There were messages in many languages throughout the thread, showing how much people around the world connected with the couple's experience. On the third night, Jasmine finally let herself sleep for a few hours on the little chair next to Matt's bed. She held his hand even as she fell asleep, with her head on the side of his blanket. Nurses discreetly strolled by, moved by her dedication. Matt woke up in the middle of the night and spotted her sleeping next to him. He smiled a little. He touched her hair gently and said, "I'm not going anywhere." In that moment, everything changed from terror to thankfulness. Jasmine walked next to the gurney with Matt's bag of things after he was transported out of the ICU. Her eyes were full of both relief and tiredness. She thanked the doctors, nurses, and even the fans who had donated flowers and cards that now filled the little hospital room. In an interview with People, Jasmine said a few words outside the hospital. "This taught me how fragile life is. You believe you have time to make things right, love more, and forgive. But when something scary happens in your life, you realize that love is everything. I'll never take a day for granted again." Matt started to get better over the next 3 days by taking short walks down the corridor, eating light meals, and having calm talks. Jasmine was there for everything, sometimes filming short updates for fans, but primarily staying offline to focus on his rehabilitation. The doctors stated he was making good progress. They told him to take it easy, stay away from hard workouts, and lower his stress levels. Matt agreed every time, joking weakly that he would rather meditate than go to the gym. Jasmine cried and laughed at the same time. "That's the best workout plan you've ever had," she said with a laugh. At the same time, others on the internet kept supporting them. Fans launched threads to share their own stories of heart scares and recovery, complimenting Jasmine for being open and honest about her feelings. One fan said, "This isn't about reality TV anymore. It's about two people showing what love and loyalty really mean." Another person said, "Seeing Jasmine break down and then rise again gives me hope. She reminds me that being strong doesn't mean acting like everything is all right. It means getting back up when life knocks you down." Matt posted on Instagram a week later. He was in a hospital bed wearing a gray sweatshirt when he taped a short, sincere message. "Hey everyone. I just want to thank you for all the love. I worried a lot of people, even myself, but I'm fine. This was my wake-up call from life. Take care of your heart, both physically and emotionally, everyone. And to Jasmine, I love you. Thank you for not leaving my side." That video got almost 500,000 views in less than 24 hours. "Forever by you," Jasmine said in 3 words. Red heart. As Matt got ready to leave the hospital, the pair had to face a new reality. Health, rest, and appreciation were more important than anything else. Jasmine made plans for him to get better at home by creating a nice space with flowers, candles, and quiet music. She videotaped him sitting on the couch, smiling weakly, and drinking soup in one of her few public reports. She wrote over the video, "My fighter." After the media tempest, Jasmine sat on her balcony one night and watched the sunset in Miami. The sky turned orange and pink, colors she used to represent happiness. Now they stood for survival. She said to herself, "We made it." The world kept spinning and gossip kept flowing, but for Jasmine Pineda, the only thing that mattered was that Matt Branistareanu was alive, breathing, recuperating, and holding her hand again. The hallways of the hospital smelt like disinfectant and coffee, that peculiar mix of being clean and tired that only places of crisis seem to have. Jasmine Pineda had hurried through those glass doors almost 2 days ago, breathless and shaking. Now she walked through the same hallways with the slow, deliberate feet of someone who had forgotten what it was like to rest. It was 6:12 a.m. on the clock on the wall, but time didn't matter anymore. The beeping monitors, quiet prayers, and mumbled whispers made it hard to tell morning from night. The machines let off a gentle light that made Matt's room dark. He appeared too calm on the bed. His complexion had gotten a little color back, but his eyelids were still closed most of the time. He was in and out of light sleep when the nurses checked his vital signs. Jasmine sat on the edge of the bed in the same black sweatshirt she had put on when she got the call. It dangled loosely off her shoulders and smelled faintly of hospital air and tears. In the last 24 hours, she hadn't said much. When she did, her voice was harsh and broken at the edges. She quietly said, "You're doing so well," and ran her fingertips over Matt's wrist where the 4-line was strapped down. "Just keep breathing, baby. That's all you need to do." Again, her phone buzzed. Since the story came out online, it hadn't stopped buzzing. She didn't want to deal with the internet storm of notifications, mentions, interviews, and requests for statements. But when she looked at the computer and saw a message from her mom in Panama, she let out a nervous breath. "Mi amor, I saw the news. I'm praying. Don't lose faith." She sent back a short answer. "Trying." Then she locked the phone again and put it face down on the table. The heart monitor's steady beat was the only sound in the room. Jasmine watched the green line go up and down. Each beep felt like a weak thread holding her to hope. She would sometimes sit back in the chair, cover her face with her hands, and silently count the seconds between beeps to make sure that life was still going on. There were whispers among the reporters in the hallway. They couldn't go inside the ward, but they were everywhere. The flash of cameras when she walked through the main gate, and the shouts of those behind barricades asking, "Jasmine, how's Matt? Do you have any news? Is he awake?" She never said anything. She just kept going, covering her face and holding her coffee cup like it was the only thing keeping her grounded. But inside, it was a whole other universe. There were no cameras, lights, or shows in here. It was just Jasmine and the sound of machines, the slow drip of an N4 bag, and the sound of nurses changing shifts every now and then. Dr. Vega came back at midday with a clipboard. He smiled at Jasmine, even though he was exhausted. "He is stable," he replied in a low voice. "That's great news. For the next 3 days, we just need to keep a close eye on him." She nodded, not being able to trust her voice. "Can I talk to him?" He said, "You can, but keep it light. He needs to be calm." And she did. She leaned down and whispered stories, soft, soothing pieces of their lives before all this. "Do you remember when we got lost in Tampa last month?" she said with a small smile. "You promised you didn't need GPS, and we ended up at a random farmer's market. You got around 10 jars of honey." Matt's lips moved a little, and a tiny smile appeared. Jasmine's heart felt like it was going to burst and break at the same time. That slight quiver of his mouth seemed like the sun breaking through the clouds. But even the times of light couldn't make her tiredness go away. There were reporters waiting at the door every time she left the room, and their inquiries seemed like invisible weights. Sources say he's in critical care. Fans are flooding social media. She tried not to hear them, but their words got through. The story was everywhere, trending hashtags, reaction videos, and discussion shows going over every little thing. Not actually, she wasn't mad. Since 90 Day Fiancé, fame had always been a part of her life, but this was different. This was private sorrow that became a public spectacle, and it made her feel exposed. "Why can't people just pray without making it news?" she said once while standing by the window that looked out over the city. The sun came in, blinding and uncaring. Gino Palazzolo, a friend and fellow cast member, texted her at some time in the day. He had learned from the production team what had happened. "Hey Jazz, don't answer if you can't. Just so you know, I'm praying for Matt. Don't forget to take a breath, okay?" She smiled weakly, and tears were about to come again. Jasmine was always fiery on screen, quick to fight and too passionate, but here she was silent. Weak. A lady who has lost everything but love and dread. A nurse came in to change Matt's for. She whispered softly, "You should take a break, Miss Pineda. You've been awake for almost 2 days." "I can't," Jasmine said, still looking at Matt. "What if he wakes up and I'm not here?" The nurse nodded in understanding. "He'll know you're nearby. He can sense it." Hours went by. The sound of carts squeaking, medical staff talking, and footsteps echoing kept going in the hospital. Jasmine's eyes got tired, but she made herself stay awake. She mindlessly scrolled through Instagram, not because she wanted to, but because she needed to get her mind off of things. More than 500,000 people liked her post from the day before. Thousands of people they didn't know offered love, prayers, and heart emojis. But there were other comments that hurt, like people guessing, questioning, and even accusing. Was this stress-related? Did fame get to him? Is this just for show? The internet's nastiness crept in, sharp as broken glass. Jasmine closed the app and turned off her phone. "People don't know," she said quietly. "They don't know what it's like to love someone and not know if you'll get to tell them tomorrow." She leaned in closer to Matt and traced the shape of his hand. She whispered passionately, "You're not going anywhere. You said you'd take me to dinner this weekend. You will maintain that pledge." She was surprised by a faint knock on the door. A young nurse came in with a bunch of white roses. She said politely, "These just came from Mr. Branistareanu. I think from some of your co-stars." Jasmine got the card. It said, "Stay strong from all of us. Love wins over everything." 90 Day Family Red Heart. She put the flowers on the ledge next to the other gifts and cards that were piling up. As the room eventually turned into a garden of pity, Jasmine's eyes never left the man in the bed. She would get up every now and again to fix his blanket and brush the hair off his forehead, saying, "You're safe." By late evening, they were finally too tired to keep on. She sat on the chair next to his bed with her hands clasped and her eyes fluttering shut. She fell into a light sleep for the first time in 2 days. She dreamed that they were walking on a beach, the sun warming their faces and his laugh echoing in the wind. She stretched for his hand and awakened up to the sound of faint beeping from the monitors. Matt moved. His eyes flickered open, and at first they weren't focused. Then they found hers. His lips opened a little bit. "Hey!" The word came out quite quietly. Jasmine gasped and sat up straight. "Matt!" He nodded slightly, and a ghost of a smile crossed his face. "You didn't go." Her eyes filled up right away. "Never." He tried to lift his hand, but she held it down gently. "Don't move. Just take a break. I'm right here." For a few seconds, they didn't say anything. It felt like the space got smaller and smaller until it was just the two of them, with the machines receding into the background. Then his eyelids fluttered again, and he fell back asleep. But for Jasmine, those 2 words at that time were everything. Evidence that he was still fighting. Evidence that love is stronger than fear. The world kept going outside the hospital. There were paparazzi camped out at the entrance, vehicles parked around the street, and news anchors practicing their live pieces. Fans held up placards that said, "Stay strong, Matt," and "We love you, Jasmine." The hospital had become a place where people shared their feelings of sadness, hope, and interest. Inside again, Jasmine stood at the window and watched the cameras flash below. She didn't feel angry for the first time. She was thankful since there were thousands of people praying behind every picture and headline. People who wanted him to live in their own manner. That night, she sat by his bed again, holding his hand and humming quietly. It wasn't a song anyone would know. It was just a quiet tune she used to hum when she couldn't sleep in Panama. The music permeated the room like a secret promise. "Don't go," she said softly. "Not right now. Never." The hours moved slowly, as the world outside faded into darkness. Nurses came and went, but Jasmine hardly moved. She was tired, her eyes were swollen, and her body hurt, yet she wouldn't rest. A calm determination burned deep inside her. It was the same passion that had previously made her chase love across continents, and now kept her in this one hospital room. Matt woke up again at 3 a.m. His hand moved in hers. His respiration became more regular. Jasmine let out a long breath and put her forehead on his arm. Tears fell silently. She said, "You're winning, baby. I know you're fighting." The nurse on duty stopped at the door to watch the calm scene. She smiled sweetly and turned off the harsh overhead lights. The couple was left with only the soothing glow of the monitor, which bathed them in pale blue. For that moment, it appeared like a weak form of peace. As the world outside scrolled through updates, Jasmine Pineda, a reality star, fighter, and lover, sat in a hospital room that smelled faintly of roses and antiseptic. She held on to the only thing that mattered. The faint, steady beat beneath Matt's fragile ribs, proof that the man she loved was still there, still breathing, and still hers. After 3 a.m., the hospital became strangely quiet, as if the whole facility were holding its breath. The orange streetlights made the streets look like they were shining, and the press vans had finally stopped making noise as their engines cooled down in the humid Miami night. But Jasmine Pineda was wide awake within. She sat leaned down in the same chair she hadn't left in almost 2 days, her fingers wrapped around Matt's hand, and her thumb tracing the thin lines of his knuckles. Aside from the low pulse of the heart monitor, which was a fragile, monotonous sound she had come to rely on, the room was dark. He could still hear her beeping, which was a comfort that he was still there and still connected to her by something strong and unseen. She hadn't eaten anything. She hadn't actually gotten much sleep. The hospital personnel had given her blankets, sandwiches, and coffee. She turned them all down, mumbling courteous thanks before going back to her solitary watch. She was scared by her own reflection in the dark window once, swollen eyes, tangled hair, and the ghost of a lady who used to glow on TV screens all over the world. But tonight there was no camera, no glitz, and no plot. Just the truth, raw, unplanned, and nasty. There was a faint knock on the door. Jasmine stayed still. It opened slowly, and there was Dr. Vega, the same calm doctor who had been with Matt since he got there. He spoke in a calm, professional way, but there was something gentle about how he lowered his voice. "Ms.," he whispered softly, "Pineda, you need to rest. Your body can't keep going on adrenaline." "I'll rest when he's better," Jasmine muttered, without looking away. The doctor thought for a moment. "He's doing as well as we can expect him to right now. He's doing well, but he is still quite weak." Jasmine nodded a little. "I know. I just can't shut my eyes. I see him on the gym floor again and again." Her voice broke. It was the first time she had talked about that picture since it happened. She saw Matt's body fall, his face lose color, and the voices surrounding him become confused and scared. She remembered her own scream, how it cut through the air, and the frantic ride to the hospital that came next. For a brief moment, the doctor put a hand on her shoulder. "You saved him by obtaining help right away. Keep it in mind." Jasmine went back to Matt after he departed, and her hand was still on top of his. "I didn't save you," she said in a low voice. "I just couldn't let you go." Hours went by. The blinds let in the gentle golden light of dawn, which painted the walls. Early morning joggers went around the barriers outside the hospital, and the first news crews started to set up again. The story didn't die overnight. If anything, it got bigger. Hashtag pray for Matt and hashtag stay strong Jasmine were both very popular on social media. Fans were sending pictures, naming the hospital, and putting together video montages of their best times together on 90 Day Fiancé. Jasmine had no idea how big the storm had gotten. She had switched off her phone for almost a whole day and planned to keep it that way. People may guess all they wanted about the world. Her reality was this small hospital room. At about 7:30 in the morning, a nurse came in with a clipboard and a grin that said she was sorry. "Miss Pineda, we'll need to do another test in a little while to keep an eye on his heart rhythm. It won't take long." Jasmine got up. "I'll wait outside," she murmured in a voice that was hard to hear. She walked into the hallway and let out a deep breath. The hallway seemed to go on forever, with pale walls, shiny flooring, and the gentle hum of fluorescent lights. She saw a small group of individuals near the end of the wall, not reporters but admirers. Some had flowers, while others had little notes. They were held back by security, but just seeing them made her throat tight. Jasmine saw one woman who was middle-aged and crying. "We love you, Jasmine," she called quietly. "We're praying for him." Jasmine smiled a little and nodded. "Thank you," she said softly. The test was over when she went back into Matt's room. The equipment beeped steadily again, and the nurse left after making sure the blankets were in the right place. Jasmine moved the chair closer and sat down, holding his hand again. "Do you hear that?" she whispered, her voice shaking. "People are out there praying for you. People you don't—" She laughed softly even though she was crying. "You always said you didn't like being in the spotlight. I guess the spotlight found you anyway." He blinked his eyes, but he didn't wake up. She didn't think he would. She just needed to keep talking to break the quiet that worried her more than anything else. Her sister called again from Panama by mid-morning. Jasmine almost didn't answer, but she felt bad for not saying anything, so she swiped the screen. "Jazz!" Her sister's voice shook as it came through the speaker. "We saw the news again. Mama is quite worried." "I know," Jasmine said softly. "Tell her he's still there. He is strong. You sound so tired. Did you eat?" "I can't." There was a long silence on the other end. Then her sister added in a quiet voice, "You always think you have to be strong for everyone. It's fine to break down too." Jasmine's lip shook. She swallowed hard and looked at Matt. "Not now," she said softly. "Not yet." The call ended without any noise. A hospital representative came in later that day, around midday, to talk about privacy issues. "Ms. Pineda, the outside media is getting too much. If you'd like, we can shift Mr. Branistareanu to a safer floor." Jasmine was unsure. Would that mean that he would have to see other doctors? "No, just a different ward. It's quieter and the press can't get in as easily." "Do it," she responded immediately. "He needs peace." Within an hour, orderlies pushed Matt's bed down a small hallway to a room that was more private. Jasmine walked next to them the whole way, with one hand on the rail of his bed, as if she was scared he would float away again if she let go. The new room was smaller and deeper inside the hospital wing, with no windows to the outdoors. It was oddly reassuring, like a small cocoon where the outer world couldn't get to them. Jasmine let out a breath when the door finally closed behind her. It felt like the first time all day. The silence was heavy, yet it was theirs. She sat back down and looked at him, watching how gently his chest rose and fell under the blanket. "You'd hate all this attention," she said with a faint smile. "But you know what? You should know how much I care about you." She picked up the bouquet from earlier and took one of the roses out of it. She put it in a tiny water cup on the side table. "When you wake up, I'll tell you about it. I'll tell you about all the people who are rooting for you, all the messages, and all the love you gave without even knowing it." In that room, time moved differently. Jasmine lost track of time again. Nurses came and left, machines were examined, and numbers were written down. She kept quiet, ran her fingers through his hair every now and then, and said prayers in Spanish beneath her breath. Elena, a nurse, stopped for a moment and remarked softly, "You remind me of my sister." She stood by her husband's bed like this. "Did he get better?" Jasmine asked in a quiet voice. The nurse thought about it for a second, then smiled. "He did." But she added that even before that, the waiting taught her how strong love really is. Jasmine blinked away her tears. "I hope I'm learning that too." The light in the afternoon got dimmer again, and long shadows fell on the walls. Jasmine realized that her body hurt. Her neck was stiff, and her back hurt from being in the same posture for so long. She stood up for a moment to stretch, and then moved to the little sink near the door. The water felt cold on her hands. She poured some over her face while glancing in the mirror. She said to her mirror, "You're fine." "He's fine. You just need to hang on a bit longer." Her mirror gazed back at her. It wasn't the daring, gorgeous Jasmine that the world knew. It was a woman who was bare, delicate, and fiercely devoted. She thought about how she had met Matt, and how surprising their connection had been. He wasn't well-known or flamboyant. He was kind, gentle, and down to earth. Not at all like the commotion she was used to. And that's what made her interested. She thought back to their first night out, when he laughed as she tried to teach him salsa in their kitchen, and looked at her like she was something to protect, not perform. Those recollections flooded her chest now, making her feel both good and bad. She went back to the chair and bent her knees a little. Her voice was soft and shaky. "You made me think I could really love you, Matt. That I didn't have to show anything. Please don't go now." The machines faintly hummed back. There were faint footfall outside the door, the sound of trolleys wheeling and doctors changing shifts. The hospital maintained its own steady beat, but Jasmine's universe had shrunk to the rise and fall of one man's breath. By the end of the day, she was tired again. She leaned closer and put her head on the bed next to his arm. The air was thick but serene, a peculiar serenity that filled the area between terror and faith. Before she fell asleep, she muttered one last thing. "Matt, just stay. That's all I need. Stay." As night struck again, the lights turned off on their own. And there they stayed, a man and a woman connected by love and silence, stuck between what had been and what may still be in a little hospital room that had become their whole universe. This gossip is over. If you liked the video, then give your opinion in the comment box and stay with us by subscribing the channel. Thank you.